Oh, today's been tough. Man, I hate to say it, but I think we lost some people today. We didn't just lose states, we lost people. Yeah, we lost some people because they weren't ready for a long, hard battle. You know, they wanted they want a revolution. They just don't want to work for it. They want a revolution, but they want it to be easy. No one told them that there are no easy revolutions. No one told them that, it's going to be tough winning a battle against the most famous female politician in the history of female politicians ever in the United States of America. No one told them that this woman who was first lady to the president, who has outlets and social media sites in her pocket, that it would be difficult beating her. You would think they knew this. You would think they would be prepared for the long haul. When I mean long haul, I mean long haul. I mean the haul all the way, not half the way. Look, if I need your help, I need your help all the way. I don't need your help just for a minute. So we lost some people today because they weren't prepared for today. But see, I was prepared for today. And I knew I'd be disappointed because you always hold out hope that other people will see it the way you see it. I mean, it's disappointing. It's troubling. It's a downer. But the truth is this. We have the best candidate running on the best platform, and we're doing the right thing. And all those people that may gloat, showboat, chide, and make smart comments, you should feel sorry for them. Because they are going against their own best interest. They're going against their best interest. They don't even know it. They don't realize it. And it's a shame. But you know what would be more of a shame? What would be more of a shame would be if you gave in to your frustration, to your disappointment, based on what happened today. It's just one day. We got many more days to go. That's if we stay in it. And if you in it, you are in it. If you are about it, you are about it. If you're going to ride or die, ride or die. Listen, I look at it like this. If Bernie Sanders can champion civil rights, human rights, income equality, fighting against the big banks, desegregation, police accountability, climate change, environmental protection, education, health care. If he can champion these things for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you know what? I can give him a year. I can give him an election season without quitting. What about you? What about you? We're about to go into territory that's more friendly to Bernie Sanders. We're about to go into areas where the demographics no longer favor Hillary so strongly, but start to favor Bernie Sanders. You've been through the hardest part. You've been through, look, we done lifted the credenza up the stairs, and now we're going to go down the stairs. We took all the drawers out, and now we're going down the stairs, and now you're talking about you are tired. You ain't tired. You're not done yet. I know you better than you know you. You are in it to win it. You are Bernie or bust. You are for real. Just like me. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick ourselves up. We're going to start all over. And we're going to get focused on what's to come, not on what we can't change, because we can't change what just happened, but we can change what's going to happen. So, go ahead. Forget about Illinois. Forget about North Carolina and Florida. Forget about it. Illinois. Let's focus on California, the states to come. I'm Tim Black, and no matter what happens in this election, I'm feeling the burn. Make up your mind.
Morning, everybody. Who's tired from yesterday? Anyone? I'm a little tired from yesterday. It was a long day. But, as Tim Black says, we've got a long way to go. Can you give Bernie Sanders a year? I can. He's given us 30 already. I know we've got a lot of people today. Thank you so much for being here. 100 people already. Hi, Vivian, Robin. Yes, Robin, we will talk after this, definitely. Julius and Nico, good morning. Thank you for being there. Thank you for all that wonderful footage the other day. We had Makana. It was so awesome. If you guys saw that the other day. Bernard, Steph, think it through. Beautiful, beautiful cover this morning, guys. Did you see the cover this morning? That was absolutely beautiful. Here, let's push these on through. I'm going to start with comments right away. I've even marked them off. I've got my shit together today. I am tired. I got the baggy eyes, but that's okay. We've got another day to go. And there's a fantastic article that came out. Fantastic article that came out in the HuffPost. Alan Grayson really lays it out. We've got Robert Reich and Alan Grayson both lay it out as to where we are, where we stand, and what just happened. Right? So anybody who's down or depressed needs to understand that we are not in a bad place, folks. This is just a battle. So, yeah. Hey, hon. How are you doing? Crunch, Tony Schuster, Johan, Rob. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see y'all. GKU Gian. I'm sorry. I cannot pronounce your name. Please tell somebody how to get that to me in phonics, then I will pronounce your name. There's a lot of people where I just see it fly by. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, and I don't. So, like Fluffy Bunny, Jeanette, Zoxvox, Zox Ovox, sorry. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, let's talk about the positive stuff. It's really been like so many things just came through this morning. It's been like a heavy morning. What I do is I wake up, and by about 6:15, I'm sitting in here looking at all of the news that's been gathered by our news team and the volunteers in Bernie 2016 TV. I look on Twitter, look at the trending hashtags, and I start to form the newsroom show for the morning. And a couple articles were dropped at the very last minute. And we've got a lot to talk about today. There's been some crazy stuff that's happened today. Just 1 second, I just want to make sure everything's good in live production. We've got Sean Porter in here with us, and Bad Wolf and Jesse hanging out, and that's good. Give me 1 second. I want to pull up this graph so we can just all get it over with. And we're going to use the New York Times, which is ironic because I'm going to blast them a little later for shit journalism. But right now, let's take a look at their model of the results. We can just get it out of the way. Okay? This is where we stand, folks. It's okay. This is okay. This is Clinton winning all of them by the statistics. Now, apparently there's some chance that Missouri could go the other way, but that's been flip-flopping back and forth, and I think it's done now. I think we're done. But here's the thing here. Missouri and Illinois, not that big gaps there. Okay? About the same in delegates. Ohio, North Carolina, about the same in terms of gap. Florida was the only big gap there, and it's really not a blowout, folks. That's not a blowout. Okay, so this just there it is, and I'm not even gonna go through the rest of what the New York Times has to say there. There it is. Hey, Purry for Bernie Star, how you doing? David Hudson. Yeah, Aniko did a wonderful job. PNP Rail, she was amazing. So, okay, so that's it. Let's just get it over with. It's done. Let's get it over with. So here we're gonna switch over to the other article. Okay, just gonna switch over right now. Come on, get in here, get over here. There we go. Here's where we're at. Presidential primary 2.0 is about to begin. And we're going to read this together, and we're going to understand what the hell is going on here. Okay? The links are all in the rundown. This one, I think we put this at the top of chat. You scroll to the top of the chat, it should be in there. If not, we'll get it for you. And yeah, we've got some things. We've got to. Oh, I see somebody say turn off your TV. We've got some serious stuff to talk about in regards to establishment media and their piss poor job of things. But we're just going to read this together. There are 2 Democratic presidential primaries, and this is from Alan Grayson, folks. This is Alan Grayson, superdelegate. One is almost over. So there are 2 primaries, 2 primary sessions, not days, okay? You know, I'm learning this stuff with you guys and everything. There are 2 primary sessions, not just days, okay? So the other one is about to begin. We just finished the first one. I have said a few times that I thought there was a Super Tuesday 1 and then a Super Tuesday 2, and I was right about that. There's a 1 and there's a 2, but that's not the Democratic presidential primaries. There's primary season 1 and primary season 2. So the first primary season runs from February 1st to March 15th. Okay, all 11 all 11 old South states vote in that primary. Okay, old South states vote in the first Democratic presidential primary from February 1st to March 15th. We have 2 states left to go, but Hillary Clinton has won every one of them. Every one of the other 9, okay, by an average of 43 points. This is important. So she's won 9 of the 11 old South states by 43 points. I'm sorry. I wanted to switch over here because I saw a comment come through, and I see Robin Moore say, yeah, if Mar was like 21 or 2 IQ points smarter, he would open his mind a little more. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I have a lot of respect for Bill, but apparently he's choosing paycheck. I don't know what's going on there. So listen.
People are too sensitive.
What?
I said I don't want to get too deep into that again, but I don't know. I don't see it. So.
I'm not exactly sure what is going on with him. All I remember was the BLM comment, and if we're still talking about that, I don't know. I thought he squarely felt the burn, so I don't. Yeah. Is this the truth? Is this not the truth?
Well, I think he was kind of talking, you know, we were talking a lot yesterday morning on the show about things like this, and I think he's one guy on a show, and so to show, you know, he's, I think maybe confusing people by, you know, using both talking points, right? He'll sit there and say, oh, Hillary's a shill, and oh, we know he'll make a joke about her lying and no one can trust her, and then he goes and says, well, but, you know, we could, and then he starts talking about what will happen if it's her against Trump, right? And I think that starts putting people off. But the first thing he does is back Bernie with his jokes and his rhetoric, and then he starts talking about what could actually happen. So that's all I think.
Okay.
That's a whole nother thing. Yeah, that I agree that maybe he misplayed that one.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I wasn't aware of it. Okay. We're just talking about that. I thought the comment funny because yeah. I think Bill Maher's a great guy. I love his stand on cannabis and I personally love his stand on religion. That's my stand. But
yeah, I'll be seeing him live soon. So.
Are you really? Seriously? Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So back to this. I want to get back to the numbers here because yeah, we should. Well, we'll talk about Billary and the voting booths. Okay, I see that coming through. I see you guys talking about that. But hang on. So outside of these old South states, okay, 12 other states have also voted. So this is in the first primary, February 1st to March 15th. So we had 11 old South states and then 12 other states. Bernie Sanders won 9 of those. Okay. We have 2 states. Let's see. Bernie Sanders has won 9 of those races. Hillary Clinton has only won 2, and there has been 1 tie, Iowa. The average result in those 12 states has been a Sanders win by just 20 points. Sean, mute. Give me your clicky. The net effect of this, Hillary winning the Old South by 43 points, Bernie winning everywhere else by 20 points, is a Clinton lead among pledged delegates of 223, specifically 775 to 552. Which brings us to the second Democratic presidential primary. The second one. Okay. Primary 2.0, it runs from March 16th through June 7th. March 16th through June 7th. That's quite a span. Okay? It includes none of the old South states, because they have all already voted. It includes all of the Pacific states and all of the mountain states, except Colorado and Nevada, which have already voted, and we did rather well in Colorado. How do we do in Nevada? I do not remember at this point. Let me get my number there. The biggest prizes are California, 545 delegates. Okay, now just to give you a comparison, folks, yesterday Florida was 241 that included super delegates. So California has 545 delegates. New York has 291. I think we know how well Hillary does in New York. She won't even debate there. Okay. And Pennsylvania, 210. So Pennsylvania around the same size as Florida in terms of delegates. That's big. I'm pretty sure Bernie's going to do very well in Pennsylvania. Okay, so the Democratic primary 2.0 elects a total of 2,033 delegates. Pledged delegates. If Bernie Sanders wins those races and delegates by the same margin, 60-40, that he has amassed in primaries and caucuses outside the Old South to date, then that'll give him an advantage of 407 delegates. That is more, far more than the current Clinton advantage of 223. Do you understand that, folks? By the end of the second Democratic primary, which isn't until June, so we've got to endure all of the establishment bullshit, all of the establishment lies, all of their claiming that Bernie should quit, Bernie's done, why is he even running, what are we doing with this Bernie guy, Bernie's a whatever. They're going to continue to push this bullshit. In the meantime, we're going to win. We're going to win. It's just going to take us till June to do so. This is a battle. And these numbers can go back and forth. You know, we're talking statistical, exacts here with, 60-40. We know it's not going to be like that. So this is best case there based on that division. So we have options here, folks. We have a way. We are not done at all. We just went through the hard part. I thought the hard part was done on the first Super Tuesday. Nope. We had to get through two. Now we're done. With the really hard part. Now we move through primary 2. This is the second presidential primary. It starts today. It starts today. So we have races coming up on the 22nd, and I think we have something before that. I'm not sure, but let's just read the last thing from Alan Grayson here. I know you can't read this. Almost 700 pledged delegates are chosen on June 7th alone. 700 delegates are chosen on June 7th alone, folks. It seems unlikely that either candidate will accumulate a margin of 700 pledged delegates before then. So this one may come down to the wire. That's all we need to know, folks. This is a long game. So while the media is going to push this as, Clinton's got it in the bag, Bernie's done, don't even know why he's continuing to go, wow, he should really unite the party. You're going to hear all sorts of bullshit like that, folks. Ignore it. Ignore it all. What they're really saying is, please don't keep going. Please, God, don't keep going. We don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to see this change. Please don't keep going. That is really what they're saying. They are scared shitless because there will be a reckoning with establishment media. There will be a reckoning with journalists who have lied to the American public. There will be a reckoning. We will remove you from your positions of power. Because make no mistake, folks, a journalist, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, with how the New York Times basically, the editor changed a piece that was complimentary to Bernie Sanders into a slander piece on Bernie Sanders, just because there is no integrity in journalism when your boss works for the establishment. It's gone, out the window. Why do you think Sean Porter works here? Well, for free. But why do you think he's here? He would rather work for a company that has integrity, but he has a hard time finding one at this point. I hope that doesn't kill all your job prospects, Sean.
No, you're pretty much spot on right there.
Okay, good. You're like, wait, there is one. I applied yesterday. No, seriously. Oh, let's see. I just got to check comments for this being on. Trish, yeah, I'm going to be the cheerleader today because the Alan Grayson article made me cheer up. I was like, holy shit, that's fantastic. Robert Reich also gives us a great breakdown, folks, and this link is in there. I know, let's make sure we get this link in there. Again, this is one of those ones that like just came out like just this morning, I think. So, but I do think I got this one in the rundown. So check out the description below, folks. But listen to what Robert Reich has to say. Why he calls it why Bernie Sanders' campaign is still alive. And we're going to scroll down and I'm just going to read this with you, folks. Okay? Bernie Sanders won Missouri. Okay, so this is before they called it for Clinton with the 0.2 points. All right, or 2 points or whatever the hell it is they gave. I think it was 0.2 percentage points. Bernie Sanders came close to winning Illinois in today's Democratic primaries. Lost Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida. Ohio was a big loss. Ohio really was a big loss. And I know Cindy Matthews was like going, what the hell, Ohio? I'm going, what the hell, Ohio? Your water is not doing well. You know that? You've got lead in your water, too, courtesy of the establishment. You enjoy that with Hillary Clinton, you guys. Jeez. Please, we're not leaving you, Ohio. We're not going to abandon you, even though you're overall you picked Hillary. That's okay. We won't abandon anybody in the U.S. when we get rid of the establishment government. It's about bringing everybody together, right? And putting some people where they belong, like Donald Trump in jail, or maybe sending him off to a rock on an island somewhere. I don't know. Where does this leave Democrats? Back to what Robert Reich has to say. You'll hear that Hillary Clinton is now unstoppable, especially given all the superdelegates she's lined up. But that view underestimates Bernie's support in important states that haven't yet held primaries, like Wisconsin, like California. It also fails to acknowledge the groundswell of support that he's had so far in key states like Michigan, Missouri. So Missouri wasn't supposed to go as well. That's crazy. How long have I been? Sorry, folks. That was weird. That was weird. You're right. I was. That's better than echo. It's got to be better than echo. All right. Apologies, folks. Moving on. I have no idea where I was in this. It fails to acknowledge the groundswell of support he has also had so far in Michigan, Missouri, Iowa, Massachusetts. It also fails to say that he's done this on $27 average donation. Okay. Bernie has already said he won't drop out. He's taking his delegates all the way. So he's not going to drop out, folks. He's not quitting. We can't quit on him. Right? The last thing that Reich has to say is, finally, the movement Bernie has spawned will continue beyond the convention and beyond the election. It cannot and will not be stopped. That's the big... you like the echo? You did not. Hey, I'm saying nobody like. Please, maybe if we're doing drugs or something. This is a long game. Tim Black said it. Robert Reich is saying it. Alan Grayson is saying it. Listen to the leaders of the revolution. I mean, there's no other way to think about it, right? I'm a cheerleader. So I'm just bringing you the news from the generals in the war, the guys at the front line, and they're all saying, hang on, hold on. These are our Eisenhowers, right? Our Winston Churchills. They're saying, look, we have a game plan. We're doing it. It's working. Keep moving. Keep pushing. We need every vote. Every vote counts. State by state, vote by vote, Bernie will be elected. This doesn't end with Bernie. It started with Bernie, and our primary 2.0 starts today. Ground control to Major John. Meaning there's no sound. Is that what that was for? Hey, you guys are cranking out comments. Holy cow. Although right there. All right. I'm going to mark this. I caught that just in time. Beautiful on the comments. I'm going to go back real quick and answer some questions. Where's the goddamn indictment already? Great question. I don't know. I think it's being held back. I think it's being held back by the election. It wouldn't surprise me at all if she got elected and then they indicted her. That'd be interesting. No, she will not get elected. Back up that statement. But I don't know. It's the establishment. I mean, you're talking about an agency that works within the establishment for the establishment. Very hard for them to do their jobs when they're kind of controlled by the establishment, you know. So when your government controls itself, it doesn't listen to the people. It's a very hard thing to you can't enforce justice. You can't enforce justice on those that are apparently above the law. And Hillary Clinton is apparently above the law, along with Barack Obama, along with every congressperson, along with ExxonMobil and every corporation that's done damage to us and this planet. They're all above the law, folks, because when you have money, you're above the law. That's what happens in this capitalistic society. Oh, Miss D, that's so nice. You are leader of the red. Here, I should be pushing these over. I'm like looking at these going, that's really, really nice. I'll push it over in a minute. Hang on a second. What were you saying? Really? No, hang on. God damn it. God damn it. You're not on. We have, okay, folks, I've got an audio issue. There's an audio out. Give me 1 second. I don't know what has happened here. We have lost audio on. Oh, jeez. 1 moment. Tell everybody in chat. Sean, can you hear me? Hey, everybody, you can hear me too. Hang on. I've got one of my cameras crashed. Give me 1 second. That's what's going on here. Here. You're looking at both of us. That's ridiculous. Look at Steph's awesome cover while I fix this, folks. Welcome to the newsroom live. Hi, everybody. Jesus. Okay, so I actually have to completely reboot this thing, and that's going to take me a few minutes. And until I do that, you actually won't be able to hear anybody else but me. It is how I bring in the Hangout audio, which is why you couldn't hear Sean and why I had no idea it wasn't going on. And it's actually why you couldn't hear me earlier, because I didn't realize that this machine had gone down, because it sits behind me. All right, so give me 1 second. Let's run another video. That'll give me just enough time to do this. And here, I'll preface this. I'm just going to change subjects really quick so we can talk about this. This is, I was going to get into this a little later, but I just figured we'll go into this now. This is Anonymous. Anonymous has once again done a video calling out Donald Trump, all right, and saying they're going to attack Donald Trump. And I found this because there was a link that said Anonymous vows to attack Donald Trump again. And so I'm going to run it because my question here, and I'm not bagging on Anonymous. I don't really know anybody in Anonymous, but I guess that would be the point, right? my question to Anonymous is, what are you going to do? Because I remember the last time you did one of these awesome videos and you made a threat against, I don't know who it was, somebody, but I don't recall anything happening. And so what are you going to do? What do you do? And if you can do something to Donald Trump to hinder his campaign, to shut down his websites and all that fun stuff, can you help us? Because we really need to attack establishment media. We need to break their pipeline of lies. And I would like to hijack a primetime stream and interject some truth. They interject their lies into the internet all the time, and they push it out through their pipeline. So, hey, Anonymous, hey, Occupy, can you help me with some civil disobedience in the 21st century and figure out a way to hijack a television stream so we can show the indoctrinated Americans what the hell is really going on? That's my question. You really want to do something? Let's do that, okay? But what I see is these threatening videos, and they're awesome threatening videos, but I've heard from a lot of people that nothing actually ever happens. So my question is, after this, what you gonna do?
Dear citizens of the world, we are Anonymous. Let's get one thing perfectly clear. To my subscribers and supporters, you may remember me as the one who organized the complete shutdown of Anonymous operations. A branch of Anonymous that successfully waged cyber war against Turkey, Hungary, Cloudflare and Donald Trump. You may think I silenced these hackers as a Donald Trump supporter, but that is far from the truth. In fact, Trump was the only thing they ever accomplished that we admired. We, the loyalists and veterans of Anonymous, have decided to revive this operation on a far larger scale. Dear Donald Trump, we have been watching you for a long time, and what we see is deeply disturbing.
When do we beat Mexico at the border? They are not our friend. They're rapists. Gotta see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. I'm right now suing Univision for $500 million. We're going to win a lot of money.
You called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals.
You know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Sue her because it would be fun. I'd like to take some money out of her fat ass pockets. Although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Your inconsistent and hateful campaign has not only shocked the United States of America, you have shocked the entire planet with your appalling actions and ideas. You say what your current audience wants to hear, but in reality you don't stand for anything except for your personal greed and power. This is a call to arms. This is a call to the freedom fighters, to the forgotten, to the censored, to our fellow hacktivists throughout the world. This is a call to protect our future, our freedom and our very way of life. This is a call to you. We need you to shut down his websites. Research and expose what he doesn't want the public to know. We need you to dismantle his campaign and sabotage his brand. We are encouraging every able person with a computer watching this video to participate in this operation. You do not need to know how to hack to support this important operation. If you are able to re-upload this video to your channel, you will help to give this operation the momentum it needs. Share this video. This is not a warning. This is a declaration of total war. Operation Trump engaged. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We will not forget. Donald Trump, it is too late to expect us.
All right. Well, that was a little different. So, I mean, an honest truth, folks, I hadn't watched that yet. I wasn't sure what they were going to say. And I don't know, again, what they've done before. So if anybody has examples of what they've done before, that's great, or whoever they're talking about there.
Just recently, I
Sean?
I said just recently, hopefully everyone can hear me now,
Yes.
I think, released KKK member lists.
Did that really go out? Good. Fantastic.
From what, yeah, well, I mean, we could confirm that for sure, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
Maybe yeah. I mean, I knew that was going to happen. That was okay. That was one of the ones I remember that they were going to release that list. Like, the question we have with it is, what did anybody do with it? You know, it's like they do this, and then where does it go from there? Do any of these people get called out publicly? You know, what happens there? Oh, great. And I mean, or does everybody go in the town like, you on this list? Yeah, I'm on this list. Yeah, me too. You on this list? Uh-huh. But they all, like,
that's true. I think it's up to activist groups and such to take advantage of what they're doing and use, you know, civil disobedience to sit in, make their lives harder, make it, you know, somehow demand that media attention that obviously they're not going to be given.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. So I hope it does something. Yeah, okay, Alice is saying the KK list was released. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. And then I saw somebody, Michael Stapleton, was like, you can't hack a network satellite. Yes, you can. There's many different ways to tap into that. You just got to get creative. The black market technology is huge. And I don't know if there was a show that came out, it was called Almost Human. It's a really good show. It didn't last very long. It's a J.J. Abrams piece, but it was really about the world, I don't know, maybe 15 years from now, 10 years from now, where black market technology is so rampant everywhere, and including neural and biochem, and this stuff is already happening. I don't know how many of you guys are tapped into that, but they've injected shit into eyeballs, giving people night vision. You can do that. People are doing that now as just body hacks. There's body hacks happening all over the place, right? We've got crazy ass stuff like the whole concept of human beings as mutants. I'm not talking, you know, we're far and away from the X-Men, all right? But we are doing things in science. We are doing things with technology, not corporations, but independents, scientists and engineers and the 99. We're making this stuff. It's just the establishment media doesn't tell you about any of it. You have to be connected to the net to know that this is happening. Did you know that there's a 3D print blueprint for a Stirling engine that runs on solar that's fucking incredibly powerful and efficient? I mean, that's the kind of shit like renewable energies. We didn't talk about any of that. But if we printed these Stirling engines, with these solar-powered Stirling engines, and you could line your fucking yard with them and power your house. But nobody talks about that. So in terms of technology-wise, when I think about what do we need to do to win this revolution, can we hack into a satellite? Can we break up a transmission? Can we interject our own transmission? You bet we can. I believe we can do anything we damn well want if we want to. I want to save this planet. Now, I'm not saying that's the best way to go about it, and I'm sure there are people with technology and understanding far beyond mine that would know exactly what to do, all right? What I'm saying is let's get together and make it happen. You know, let's not talk about it. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. We don't have any other choice. That's where I'm going with it. Body hacks. It's real. It's real.
It is, and that's a huge ethical, you know, question in some instances that one can go down a rabbit hole discussing that. You know, just this whole can we? I mean, especially when it gets down to like babies and stuff, you know, if we can genetically, you know, alter, you know, out diseases and stuff like that, well, that's great. But you also are picking skin color and eyes and other traits that, you know, make up a person. And so there's obviously this line that we were never meant to think about, that we're having to discuss. And it's a very important line to draw, because, you know, we've never actually had this kind of power, obviously. So.
Well, I'm interested in the words you just chose. We were never meant to think about. Who said?
Yeah, well, you know, we're, you know, mammals that, you know, gathered into groups to survive, and we weren't ever really meant to survive outside of that group. You know, that's why it's so hard for us to have foresight on things like climate change, because we want the here and now. We want the money. We want our swimming pools. We want our green grass, you know, and all this stuff. That's the here and now. And it's hard for humans, I think, just as a species, to kind of look beyond that especially when they're in these groups where things aren't going good, you're having to work every day, you're having to really survive. That was kind of what brought together the modern age, was these societies were built which allowed certain members of societies to not have to hunt all the time and not have to worry about just living all the time, and able to just sit back and start inventing stuff and thinking of new things and inventing religions for better or worse. And so I think that we weren't ever obviously meant to be in control of the life in the way we are. And again, there's the question of, are we really thinking about what this is going to lead to?
That's an interesting statement. It's an interesting statement. I agree that we don't see, we're not. I thought there was like two different things you're saying there that I'm hearing. I agree that we don't, we're not conditioned to look for the future and into the long game, but I think that's lack of education. I think that's because of the establishment lies that we've been led to believe that an instant result is all that we're going to get, and working for a long-term result is not going to pan out. I think that's part of the poor education of our species overall, right? I think, and you're talking about like ages of enlightenment, where we've had many ages of enlightenment where where human beings have flourished enough to recognize, holy shit, we can do so much better than this, and then we get oppressed and pushed back down, or we're in one of those oppressions. Now, the other piece I heard you say in there was to say we were never meant to, and I think you're saying control life, or
on that level.
Life.
Yeah.
I disagree with you 100%, because I don't think there's a rule book that says we're meant to do or be or whatever, anything. We are the dominant species on this planet, and if we end up turning ourselves into mechanoid that look like the Borg and fly around on fucking nuclear power or whatever the hell I mean, I'm just making shit up, but I mean, we are the ultimate species here as far as we know, and until we get squished by another ultimate species from somewhere else, no holds barred. The only thing that would limit you, and it has limited me in the past, is an indoctrination that tells me there's some ethical barrier to improving my being any way I damn well please.
True.
Okay. Now, in the realm of genetic engineering, which is what you're going to, I think. Okay. There's taking my body, injecting shit into my body, hooking myself up to things, and making myself whatever. That's my choice, my body, me. When you talk about genetic engineering, creating a child, doing whatever science you want to do to it, you know whose choices that is? The parents. Because they're the ones making that one. Right? Now, you want to have nations argue over the ethics of that? Okay, I suppose we could. But I want it done by taking God out of the equation, because this is science.
It's basically what Hitler tried with eugenics. If you go far enough down the slope,
it absolutely is. It is what Hitler. It is Hitler. That's nationalized genetical engineering. That's nationalized genetic engineering. You're right. It's a difficult debate, because what if they go in and they're like, your child's gonna have spina bifida, but we could fix that. We can go in there and gene splice and correct that genetically, but it will mean that your child has been genetically modified. We can't guarantee that this won't modify other genetic processes within, because we're new to this, but we are going to be able to remove spina bifida. Is that okay? Or is that genetic engineering for Aryan purposes? Because I've seen kids with spina bifida, man, and I would much rather have them take that genetic disorder away. Okay. So I'm
take the chance for sure. I hear you. I guess what I was saying is, we're not evolved to do those things, right? Nature doesn't have a plan. We got to where we were because we were able to survive without getting eaten by the tiger hiding in the bushes, right? We're not here because we almost, people don't know this, but we got down to a couple 100,000 people just on the planet, and they think that we were probably shored up pretty close to some water, and we're living off of shellfish and stuff like that. So which is why if you go to Africa, you go here, you go to Europe, we all share pretty close, DNA. So I just think that obviously in that environment, we weren't ready to live in the environment we are now, because technology just exponentially pushes life forward.
Oh, right.
And,
that's okay.
And then you go into AI, right?
Well, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there, because people are asking why the hell we're discussing this in the first place, which is good. You're right. Why are we discussing this in the first place? Because it relates to technology and the fact that we are, what Sean just said, ill-equipped to understand and deal with the level of technology we are at. It is the information technology gap. It is future shock, something that Alvin Toffler wrote about in 1975. where he said if you cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn, you're doomed. And right now we have an older generation, no offense, older generation, but we have a large bulk of older generation that has not learned, unlearned, and relearned where we sit with technology, and they're tapped into old network news, and it is dooming us. All right. And those who have not received proper education, those who don't have access to proper education to learn, unlearn, and relearn are dooming us, because technology has moved so far, and the number of individuals that actually understand where we sit and where the truth lies, the internet, right? 24% of America doesn't know the truth, folks. That's because of future shock. That's because of technology and our inability to handle it. That's why we were talking about it, and that's why we were going there, because it affects the political revolution, and it affects how we deal with it. And then when I talk about civil disobedience with technology, that's why we go there. You want to beat these people, we need to use technology, because they are afraid of it, they don't get it. Right?
And that's why corporate media, you know, when you bring people on, it's a really short snippet of, you know, someone coming on, because one, they want you to answer questions short questions, and it forces them to not answer questions or ask questions that have deep answers. Because if we're talking like we are, well, guess what? We're going to start bringing up stuff that they're trying to avoid talking about on mainstream media. So all these conversations are based on things we're seeing, but the news isn't in a place where they want to actually break it down and talk about these maybe more boring aspects of what we're seeing on the surface, right? So I think it's important to look at the rest of the iceberg, so to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, they don't want to provide the context. You're getting thin slices, is what you're getting. Thin slices, no context, and so they can spin it any way they want, which is what they do. Which is a great segue into this article. So talking about Bernie Sanders, and this is linked down below, folks. This is in Rolling Stone, and this is an important thing to discuss here, because this is the sad state of establishment media. We showed the New York Times results on the primaries for yesterday, but this is an article by Matt Tiabi. And I'm just going to make a call out right now. Matt, if you're there, we'd love to have you on Bernie 2016 TV or on politicalrevolution.tv, whichever you choose, to talk about this, to talk about what this is. What Matt does is break down how the New York Times, scroll down and read through it. I'm just going to summarize the story. Matt wrote this same article that he's referring to. This is an article written in the New York Times on Monday. It was written, it was polled, it was edited, it was reposted. I'm not sure if it's still up now or if they pulled it again because of what was going on. I think it may still be up. But what happened here, folks? What happened here, folks, is Matt identified this article as something he'd written 11 years ago. Not plagiarism, but he's like, wow, I recognize this piece in general. And he thought it was quite interesting that it had been changed. He saw it published by the author, and it was called Bernie Sanders Scores Victories for Years Via Legislative Side Doors. Bernie Sanders scores victory for years via legislative side doors. Now, before we even talk about the actual content of the article, just think about the title for a second and tell me how that title sounds. Is that title negative? Is that title positive? Is it neutral? Look at all the words in that title. Okay? Bernie Sanders scored victories for years via legislative side doors. I can even read it to you in different. I can read it to you different ways. Bernie Sanders scores victories for years via legislative side doors. Okay? That's with all the anchor-ish in there. Okay. So this article was posted briefly, and it had a lot of the things that he remembered from his version of it 11 years ago. She wrote a lot of the same. This woman who wrote it put in a lot of the same parts. Okay, I'm going to read some of the parts. It says this amendment she wrote was classic Bernie Sanders, a man she described as having spent a quarter century in Congress working the side door, tracking on amendments to larger bills that scratch his particular policy itches, generally focused on working class Americans, income inequality, and the environment. Now he goes on to say that the piece wasn't all flattering, but the piece was definitely a positive piece about Bernie Sanders and his work getting legislation pushed through, and how we did it. Okay? Now, he goes on. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down here. What happened is, here's where we get to the part. The piece was pulled. Okay, the paper pulled the piece, made some corrections, reposted it. A new version of the piece came out later the same day. And here are the corrections. I'm just going to read. They did a correction on the title, and they added a couple paragraphs. The correction on the title, the first title, Bernie Sanders scored victories for years via legislative side doors. Here's the second title, folks. Via legislative side doors, Bernie Sanders won modest victories. How does that one sound? Via legislative side doors, Bernie Sanders won modest victories. There's a big difference between the first headline and the second headline. It's subtle, I guess. Maybe to a reader. To a writer, it's not subtle at all. To a writer, it's an absolute turnaround of how it sounds. Okay? We went from Bernie Sanders scored victories, the first 4 words, Bernie Sanders scored victories, to the next to this, via legislative side doors. All right? So, via victory, side doors. Okay? Champion, You see how that changes it? That's bullshit, folks. But it wasn't the author of the piece that changed it. It was the editor. It was the editor of the New York Times because he's shilling for Hillary. Okay? This is shit journalism. Not by the author of the piece, but by her boss. Her boss that came in and censored her work, changed the narrative and the tone, and then pushed it out to the indoctrinated individuals that are actually going to read this shit. Okay? Now, here's what else they did with it. They added 2 paragraphs. These paragraphs are not in. The other paragraphs, if you go read the rest of this article, he talks about the other paragraphs, just saying Bernie did this, he accomplished this, he went through these ways, he did these things. It was just talking about his history because his history is there and it's the truth. But they added these paragraphs to shape the narrative. This is how they do it. They shape the narrative like they do on TV. They shape the narrative in words. So they added the 2 paragraphs. But in his presidential campaign, Mr. Sanders is trying to scale up those kinds of proposals as a national agenda, and there is little to draw from his small ball legislative approach to suggest that he could succeed. How does that sound? And then this one. Mr. Sanders is suddenly promising not just a few stars here and there, but the moon and a good part of the sun. From free college tuition paid for with giant tax hikes to a huge increase in government health care, which has made even liberal Democrats skeptical. Now, as a writer, and the author of this, Matt Taibbi, points this out, that second paragraph is a piece of shit. Okay? This line, Mr. Sanders is suddenly promising not just a few stars here and there, but the moon and a good part of the sun. Well, you moron, the moon and a good part of the sun are included in a few stars here and there, if you think about it, dumbass. So the editor who wrote this really had no fucking idea what he was writing. He just wanted to make sure he threw something in there that made it sound bad for Bernie Sanders. It's not only poor journalism, it's terrible writing. I would have edited that and sent it back, you know. So, Matt, we welcome you on this program. I'd love to have you on either one of our channels to talk about this. But this is what we face. This is what we face, folks. This is the nature of our battle. We are fighting a lying propaganda machine. Is that redundant? We are fighting a propaganda machine. It's a horrendous machine. And it has damaged our nation so bad. Please share that article. It is in the description. Share it. Smack the New York Times. Praise Matt Taibbi. This is the only thing that we can do on the web right now that is not civil disobedience of the high order, is that we blast. Remember, we need to carpet bomb the truth. As much as possible, we need to blast this information out. Look at this slander job done to Bernie Sanders. Look at this shit. We have to push this out. Sean, were you going to say something in there? I'm sorry.
Well, no, you're fine. It's just kind of the classic editor-writer relationship. Even from small beans kind of journalism like I do, you're always looking out for the fact, an editor can change the meaning of, or at least, from the outside, change the meaning of something by switching out the title. And, they have that, ability to take things and ask for rewording and stuff like that. So I think it's interesting to think about the fact that the hierarchical way that newsrooms are set up, a lot of them, makes it so some of those more progressive writers, they're either not going to bother because they're afraid they're going to lose their job, or they know that the editor is just going to either be like, well, no, that was a waste of time, or they're they're going to do this and try and spin it differently than the writer said. So I think it's an interesting thing. It's just another viewpoint into what's wrong with a lot of our old school newspapers, and it's probably similar to what's happening. Obviously, they're not print, but in cable news as well. Like we talk about every now and then, like, oh, is Rachel really progressive, or is she a shill, or is she really fighting the establishment from the inside? And I don't know. I'd like to think that maybe she is more like a Matt Taibbi, trying to push the envelope, but she's not higher ups. Well, I hope. I don't really know. I haven't seen anything to suggest one way or the other necessarily, except for the fact that they're pushing more to the right, MSNBC. So it'll be interesting to see if she, she'll either move to the right with them, or she'll stand up for what she's already, she's already made a name for herself as being somewhat of as a progressive. So I guess that's something that's going to be interesting to see how she plays her hand, I guess. So.
Well, that's good. It's like what you're saying is that she's either going to have to choose to be called establishment now, or be a real progressive. Every journalist doesn't have to make it. Actually, every journalist has to make a choice between just being an establishment propaganda mouthpiece or being an actual journalist.
I guess there's a difference. It's like Taibbi can write for Rolling Stone and then write for these guys or this guy, whereas Rachel is, nailed down. She can't go anywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so Matt. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That he's an independent contractor.
And he's a great author. He's got great books. He's really heavy on writing about campaign finance reform and so the bank. Yeah,
Rachel could do the same. I mean, she
could. She's smart. Yeah.
Quit. I mean, she could Ed Schultz it, right?
I believe she could. Yeah.
Heck, she's bigger than Ed Schultz, right?
Come on, Rachel. We need a new host. Come on over.
Look, Hey, if she were to come on over, I bet we could crowdfund a better looking studio than this, eh?
Damn right.
We could get her something like I'll get a sheet. We'll get a nice Rachel Maddow sheet, put it back there. I don't know. It's
Fantasy world. Wake up.
Yeah, and listen, I just want to say this. I don't know where I don't know where TYT actually stands on all this stuff. But I hope that they remain a decent independent network and don't run off for ratings. I hope they are not chasing ratings. Because
is there anything that you've seen to why are you bringing this up?
Talking about why they covered Trump last night.
Right.
The Bernie speech was there. They covered Trump, and I thought, well, maybe they covered Trump because we were covering the Bernie speech. Probably not. I mean, they get like 250,000 people watching their view. We had a lot of people yesterday. Don't get me wrong.
True.
For us, we had a fantastic audience, a great day yesterday, and Fox 10 Phoenix brought us that stream, and we appreciate that. Although Fox 10, next time you do that, any concert music, you can certainly play anytime. We're really looking forward to hearing McConnell, and we couldn't. But we had that recording of McConnell thanks to Aniko earlier. And before I forget, folks, you want to see some good journalism, a lot of the people in Bernie 2016 TV, including Sean Porter, do blogs. They write blogs. They do. Sean does our SoundCloud account, which you can talk about here in a second. But Cindy Matthews writes the Bernie blog, and I think I dropped a link to that in resources today. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. That's the problem. So much of this media comes flying at me, and I don't get a chance to read it all. But Cindy Matthews is one of our volunteers. She does Comment Mon. She's a great writer, and she really puts a lot of time and effort into the Bernie blog. So take a look at that. Share it around. The best way for us to combat bullshit in establishment media is to praise and recognize the independent journalists and writers and authors that are doing the other work that's not getting recognized. People like Sean and Cindy. I don't know. There's a good deal of people in the group that do this stuff. All right. So please. Okay. I'm looking. Melissa says TYT shows Trump, then tears him apart. Why even give him airtime? Don't give him airtime. Couldn't even get any airtime. She just saw a picture of a stick figure. you know, with tiny hands and orange and tiny, you're like, that's Donald Trump, and there he is with his little plane. We just drew a picture of it, you know, like they do in the juries where they're not allowed to take pictures, so they have the guy do the jury picture. Just do that. That's all we need. He doesn't need any more than that. Don't need to show any of his footage. We don't need to hear him say a word. Right? It's offensive. I'd rather listen to a fart. Really quick, I want to remind everybody of something. Where are we at? Shit, we're at 10 o'clock. This time's flying today. Time is flying. I want to go back to this just because I want to remind everybody real quick who Hillary Clinton works for. These 7 companies spent more on CEO pay than federal taxes. This is an article from Fortune magazine that came out in 2014, and basically it talks about how all these corporations paid nothing for taxes. But I just want to show you the list. Boeing, number 1 on the list. These are all Hillary donors, folks, in one way or another, having given to the Clinton Foundation. Boeing makes F-35s. So guess who was happy? Or no, not F-35. Well, they do. They make the F-15. Probably make those F-15s that were implicated in that Saudi Arabia thing that Sean always remembers that I always forget. Yeah, guys, that's Boeing. That's Boeing. Look at that. Pre-tax income, $5.95 billion. CEO James McNerney made $23.3 million for doing we don't know what, and we gave them $82 million of your hard-earned tax dollars. Your tax money went to Boeing after they made $6 billion, paid their CEO $23 million, and sent some fighter jets over to Saudi Arabia to murder some innocent people. So yay! Thank you, government. Thank you, Boeing. Ford Motor Company's in there. Chevron. Chevron and Hillary do a lot of fracking business together. Citigroup. Hillary helped bail them out. Verizon. I don't even know what they do, but I don't like Verizon, so we'll just leave it at that. J.P. Morgan Chase is responsible mostly for the Fed. Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that liar was the one who created the Fed. So we know he's a big fan of Hillary. General Motors, who likes to screw people. There we go. So those, look at that. That's a great number there. $4.8 billion. CEO pay $9 million, and we gave them back 34 million. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why when you as a corporation make billions in profits and pay shit for taxes, why are we giving you money back even? That's just an insult to the American worker. That is an insult to everybody in America that gets up and goes and does their job. The fact that that corporation is receiving a tax refund. A refund after we bailed their ass out. It's an insult. It's disgusting. It reeks of government corruption, and it is why when Tim Black says we must keep fighting, it is why I keep fighting. Whenever I need a reason, I listen to Bernie and I get inspired, or I look at this bullshit and I get enraged. And it keeps me going, folks. It's probably not healthy, but it keeps me going. That's what you need to do, you know.
Back before corporations ran away, you know, like post FDR, right, after we started taking away from the New Deal, it used to be that, like, you know, we'd be able to liquidate a company that was doing wrong by its people. Eventually, they were able to put states against each other. Like, you know, we're in, let's say, Missouri, and we can't do something we want that, you know, makes it cheaper for us to do business. Oh, well, we're going to move over here where it's legal unless you make it legal, and if you let us move, then you're going to lose all of that money. Well, now Boeing kind of plays the same game, whereas they were putting, I can't remember what state they were threatening to move to, but obviously Boeing's a big part of Washington State, and we get tons of money from them. So to keep them in our state, Jay Inslee actually signed it into law, the biggest tax break in state history, totaling $8.7 billion, and like subsidies just to keep Boeing here. So basically, Boeing was doing the same thing, saying, "Oh, we're going to move over here unless you give us a better deal." Which is, yeah. So they play states against each other because, I mean, yeah, we're giving them that money, but it would probably hurt the state, and we'd lose lots of jobs if Boeing moved out, and they know that. So they kind of got us by the short hairs, and they're like, well, you're going to have to give us more money, or you're screwing your people in your state. I mean, because Jay Inslee's a pretty good freaking governor, but, I mean, he, I guess, just thought he had no other choice, I suppose. I don't know.
That right there, the whole, well, we'll move jobs overseas. Bye, Boeing. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Okay? Take your planes of war and get the hell out of here. I'll buy Airbus. All right. This pisses me off. Here's the thing. What you just said. Oh, Obama is about ready to offer that. Obama is looking at offering that. Come on, keep it here. We'll lower your tax rate to 14%. What is it for Boeing now? Negative. It's negative something. I mean, it's just, that's not how you should do business. Who in their right mind thinks that's good business practice, folks? To offer a company. I mean, here are companies. We really don't want you to leave, and you're an asshole. So let's give you more money back, make it even easier for you to stay here, which screws the people. But for some reason, the people think that's great that you kept your factory here. Go away. Get the hell out of my country. Take your greed and take your planes of war and go make them elsewhere. You know what? Nobody's going to fucking want your business. Get out of here.
The problem is I know at least half a dozen people directly, like that I'm related to, that work at Boeing.
I know.
So it's like
but here's
our state would have to come up with other jobs. So it's like this big, long bog down, right?
But,
yeah.
Right. So I hear what you. I hear what you. It's not a state solution. This is not a state solution. Sure. Okay, this is a federal solution. This is not a state solution. We have to implement a jobs program. That's why Bernie calls for a massive jobs program. We have to take. Here's what it comes down to, Sean. Right now, we have a great mass of people in the United States of America, of working class Americans that work for the war machine. Okay, they work for Boeing and they work for General Electric and they work for Honey. They work for all these companies that are producing war products, and what they don't say is the reason Boeing does so well isn't because it sells a few commercial airplanes. It's because they make planes of war.
Yeah.
The people that are in the happy plane factory, great for you when you're making happy planes, but that's not where Boeing makes money. Boeing makes money off F-15s and F-35s. Boeing makes money off murdering people. GE makes money off turbojets, not for Boeing, but for fighter jets. Okay, this is how it works, folks. Okay.
Just to add to that, like part of what Jay Inslee did wanted that to keep Boeing there for was to produce the 777X. And so, like where I live just a mile or two from an airport, and we have those 777s coming and landing for test flights constantly. So I think that was part of the big get. I don't know if we're...
Those are the big commercials, like the big giant commercial?
Yep, exactly. So the idea was behind that is essentially because we weren't giving them money back in this specific deal, what it is basically making it cheaper for them to do business. So that they get more money. It's not like those people I know that work at Boeing got raises because Boeing was able to, lessen their workload. So I mean, that is one interesting thing about it is even if they were able to, and they are, you would figure they're not necessarily spreading the wealth.
So none of that money, none of that big money that Boeing got for going there trickled down to any of the employees. So in reality, it really didn't benefit the people at all. Right.
Except for they got to keep their jobs.
They got to keep their jobs, folks. Okay, well, here's the thing.
I could be wrong. They might have gotten, a raise here or there, but
I understand. Here's the hard truth is that if you were working at a plant making weapons of war, if you're working for a company that makes weapons of war, you need to make a choice. Do you really want to continue to make weapons of war, or would you prefer to get retrained and have another job? I honestly tell you, if I was working for Boeing making weapons of war, I wouldn't work for Boeing making weapons of war. I would never have taken the job. I understand that a lot of people take the jobs because they have to take the jobs. I get that. I totally understand. Got to put it on the table to survive. But I would have said no, and I would have walked. I never would have even applied. Okay. So you're going to have to get retrained. This is about putting I don't know how many millions, what Bernie's giant number is, putting a shit ton of Americans back to work. But you're not going to be making war machines. You're not going to be doing what you're doing. You'll be making solar panels, all right?
Well, it'd be okay if they're just making 777s. What we're saying is that, if we're also giving them massive amounts of money to make war machines. So you could say that, hey, Boeing's great. We just need to give them less reason to make war machines. They're not doing it because they want, everlasting war. But well, no, I'm not. They're a business. Let's just assume. Okay.
Everlasting war is exactly what every business in the establishment wants because that's how you make more war machines. War means we blow up war machines and we need to make new ones.
What I'm saying is Boeing doesn't have to I mean, they wouldn't go out of business if they stopped making planes tomorrow that were
No,
war
they'd just be a
planes.
hell of a lot poorer. Their billions in margin would drop down to, you know, like 10 billion instead of 74 billion.
Mm-hmm. Well, their CEO would still make, instead of making 20 billion, he'd make 10. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, you know, you know, what's millions when you get, I don't know what it never that's what it comes down to, Sean.
The point being is we could shift the outlook of how much money
Sure.
we want to put in the military and turn Boeing into an honest, we're just making quality planes that don't fall out of the sky, you know?
If they want to, that's their choice. That's what Bernie is saying. That's different. Bernie's saying you have a choice. You can either make the shit we want you to make, and you can make it in our country and pay your fucking taxes, or you can go out of business. Fuck you. Okay, that's basically what it comes down to. And anybody, I don't understand who in this country is protecting the corporation. I get it. If you work for Boeing, you're freaking out. But if you work for Boeing making war machines, I really don't care. I'm sorry, you're going to lose your job. I don't want making war machines anymore. And if I were in the factory, I would quit my job, folks.
Even if you weren't working on war machines, but just working for Boeing? I mean, what if you're just making 777s and you're just trying to, it's a union job. It's a union job.
I don't know.
It's good paying.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I don't know.
It's a tough conversation.
It is a tough conversation, and I'm not, because it's a hard one, because I'm not living in a place near a Boeing factory trying to raise a family or do something where I have no choice. Right?
Since I was working age, that is a suggestion to anyone. Oh, go work at Boeing. It's freaking good work, you know. So it's steady, but for probably not the best reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a hard one. That's a. If I could go around and say, no, here's another job right here. You know, it's like, here it is, right here. All you have to do is take this, go here, and start working here. Then I think it would be an easy way to.
That's the perfect point. You know, we shipped manufacturing to all these other countries that it's cheaper to do in, but since we've made it cheaper for Boeing, we still manufacture those planes there, because that's what economy that works is about. Is we do the things that we can make the best for the cheapest, and we import things that someone else can make the best. Like Brazil makes smaller planes compared to what the 777s, right? Because they have the parts and they have the manufacturing set up so that they can make those just as efficient as us, but they can make it for cheaper. Whereas if we try to have them make 777s, it's going to cost them a whole lot more, right? So with that idea, it's like we want them to keep it in the country, but when there's these other countries that can operate cheaper, that's when we have to start looking for tariffs and other ways to either make that cost to the American consumer the same, or consumer or company, whoever wants to buy it. You have to make that the same for the import and the domestic, so that we just might as well buy domestic, and people will buy domestic more. And therefore, that will create those jobs so that people they have a choice. Well, yeah, Boeing is but I'm not going to work for that company, whereas I could just as easily work someplace else because there's tons of jobs now. So I think those kind of lead to each other. People have to work at Boeing. There's no other jobs. But as soon as we take away some of that power that the government has when they're dealing with companies like Boeing, then we start maybe building more of an infrastructure, getting more jobs, so that people can make that choice.
Well, you're absolutely right. The trade agreements that are for corporate interests need to be eradicated, and that's what they do. Those trade agreements make it so it's advantageous for them to be making this shit in other countries. Nestle, just anybody that buys Nestle products, I am doing my best to wean myself of them. They make so many things, and they are an abhorrent creature on this planet, and they have children making your cat food in Thailand, folks. Nestle is just a disgusting. The CEO of Nestle isn't even a human being in my mind. That man, I hope dies soon. That's my statement. This is the newsroom, and just take it there. I can't stand that man. He does not believe that water is a basic right of human being, and he is doing his best to buy up water. And it's corporate. This is what we fight: is that complete that inherent web between these entities. It is just so nasty, so disgusting. Boeing, in my personal opinion, knows damn well that war is what it wants for profit, and it is bound by law as a corporation to its board of directors to make the biggest profit, and it knows that war is how it does that. So telling Boeing they're not going to make big profits off of war, that's going to piss Boeing off. And
Yeah, no, it's going to have to be someone with the balls to lose that money and be yelled at by our governor and anyone else that, you know, can be affected by a pissed off Boeing. But in the end, you know, I think it's what's best. Like I say, and if you're not using tariffs, which some people argue aren't as useful as maybe a VAT tax, which is essentially instead of waiting for the whole product to come in and then taxing it up to the same so that it costs the same as something made in America, you actually tax each step of its manufacturing. So like you know, so the farmers take it 5%, and then it goes to a manufacturer that processes it another 5%, and then by the time it gets into the country, it's the same as a domestic product. So those are the two ways that are debatable as to which way it would be
sure
best.
know a hell of a lot more about that than I do. Damn, let's talk about more another time. I'm just listening to you going, what and a what and okay, all right, whatever. Okay, that works. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's kind of complicated, but it's interesting. Like Ted Cruz was fighting about it a couple months ago, saying, "Oh, a VAT tax. We need a VAT tax and not tariffs." And essentially, they serve the same purpose, and he just is full of shit.
Well, whatever. Ted Cruz.
As we know,
Ted Cruz is silly. Ted Cruz is silly. Just a.
Well, they can just say what they want, and basically, the people they're talking to. I mean, I don't think they're big researchers. I don't know. Maybe that's bad to say, but I don't think they're really. I think they pretty much just take people's words for things and don't look them up for themselves. So if you can say it and look like you mean it, and you're not Mark Rubio, people are going to believe you.
Yep. That's I've learned many words doing that myself on this show. Going, what the hell is that guy talking about? And finding out he has no idea what that meant, and it's what the establishment was saying. So, all right, folks, we're gonna wrap this up. We've had a great long discussion about many things, but here's the bottom line: we just started. Okay, we just started. The establishment machine is pushing a narrative, and somebody said it earlier. It's absolutely right. Framing. They're framing the truth in the wrong way. I mean, this is what we talk about. They reframe reality, push it out on their channels, and people are listening to this information. It's amazing. My wife doesn't listen to what we talk about in here. She pays attention to mainstream media or sees the blurbs that come through. Last night, we saw this big old blurb come through. Look, Hillary Clinton, apparent winner in Missouri. They had to blast that over. They interrupted when we were watching to make sure we saw that information. Did they do that when Bernie Sanders wins anything? No, they don't. Okay? The propaganda machine only works for the establishment. We are fighting a big war. We are fighting a big enemy. It is a machine. It is vile. We have a lot of work to do, and we have to do smart work. We have to use technology to our advantage. We have to do things like what Anonymous is asking people to do. This is how we fight this war. But what's coming up, folks? What's coming up in the election? Right now, I'll tell you, we don't have any information on the next Bernie event. All right? I don't have any of that. We're waiting. Now, the 22nd, I believe, is the next day, and there's 3 states. There's Arizona, Utah, Idaho. And we just had a thing in Phoenix yesterday. We had McConnell on. That was really cool. And we're working. We're gonna try to work something out with McConnell to do a full concert of political music. Maybe McConnell just by himself. Maybe we bring some other people in, but we're gonna try to plan that. And just raise awareness around Bernie Sanders, maybe be a big fund drive. So anybody out there that hears this, that wants to be involved, or knows how we could help facilitate that in any way, that would be great. We're just fantastic artist, and we're really honored to have him on yesterday. We also had Tom Fegan on right at the beginning of the Streamathon. Incredible interview with Tom. Some really deep subjects we talked about, and what's going on in Iowa, and what Tom wants to do. I was so impressed with that man, and love the fact that he wants to drop on Bernie's desk in the Oval the revised new Glass-Steagall that regulates banks and Wall Street again, like they should be, like they need to be, because they are the reason we are here. Okay, so I want to thank both Tom and McConnell for coming on yesterday, and all of the volunteers, and Nico and everybody else who worked their asses off to deliver us streams, to bring us comments. 1,500 comments posted in the streamathon. We ran for more than 8 hours yesterday, and that's a massive amount of views, a massive amount of SEO activity on the web for Bernie Sanders. That all helps elevate him and what we are trying to do for the political revolution. So thank you all so very much for hanging with us yesterday. And the best thing you can do, folks, is to share this content. Grab the articles. The links are in the description. Post this information out. Blast the New York Times for being a piece of shit. Tell everybody the truth. Let them know what is going on. This is I repeat myself an awful lot on these shows, and I know it. And I repeat myself an awful lot during streamathons, mainly because I'm vamping, but also because it's important to say the same message over and over and over again. We have to pound it into our heads. We have to be town criers everywhere we go and repeat this message of truth everywhere we go. We need to do it for our own sanity, to remind ourselves that it's the truth and we're not just crazy, and that we have a planet to save, and that Bernie is right, and we need to keep moving. And we need to keep preaching, because the more other people hear it, this is how mainstream media works. When the establishment media pushes the same bullshit narrative over and over and over again, eventually you believe it. You know? We used to have virtually free public education. And socialism didn't used to be a bad word. Both of those things changed because the narrative changed, because establishment media framed the truth in a different way and presented it to us over decades, over and over and over again. I grew up believing that Columbus was a great guy and that everything that happened back then with the Indians was awesome, because that's the bullshit that was written in my white textbook. That's a narrative. It's a framing of the truth. We need to help the rest of this nation recognize that they have been lied to. Feel sorry for them. Have compassion. Help them wake the fuck up. All right. We have a lot of work to do, folks. 22nd of the day. As soon as I find out, I feel the same way, Bernard. Like we are not doing enough every day. I don't know what else I can do more. I spend every waking hour here planning things, doing things. I do not feel like we're doing enough. I don't know how to make it more. I've had many ideas, but I agree with you. How much more can we do? I will continue to do this, and I will do more and more and more until I either collapse or whatever. I don't know. But I can't stop, because it's about quality of life. And we're not going to have much of one if we let the establishment continue to run our nation and our planet into the ground. Into the ground, because the planet is the ground. You know what I mean. All right. Super Punk, I should canvas? Yes, I should. When things get going up here in Portland, I will definitely do that. But I really, we had 28,000 people show up for Bernie in Portland many, many months ago. That was in August, actually. August, I think. Yeah. So, yeah. When we get out here, absolutely. But I'm in Milwaukee, Oregon, folks. That's where I am. And for me to leave means no Bernie stream. But I'm absolutely, I'd love to do that. Why are we running at 95% here? What the hell's going on there? Silly computer. All right. So, lastly, man, there's a lot of comments. Okay, a lot of comments. We're going to go out with a piece that was just sent via email. And the person's name. Give me 1 second here. I was gonna tell you that. It's Danielle DeBar. Thank you for sending me this. You said I made a Bernie video, and I said great. Which reminds me, there's a ton of people recently that have sent emails, and I will be responding to you. You just all hit at once. I know you've sent in some videos, like Joe Ford and Danielle and many other people, and I will respond to them today. It looks like we don't have anything going on, so I'll have some time to get to that and then respond to those. I absolutely will. Thank you, guys, for sending in all the information. I really appreciate it. I see all the comments. I do. I see everything you say on Political Revolution. I see everything you say on Bern 2016. It's just half the time I'm like, and then I have to go do something else. But I thank you. You encourage me. You keep me going. So thank you for your comments. Thank you for your kind words. They really make me feel good, and they make us want to continue doing what we're doing here, the Bernie 2016 TV Volunteers. It makes us feel good to know that you're out there and you give a shit. So yeah. And all right, we are going to go out with that. There's some other articles that I linked to in the description. Check those out. That is your arsenal of truth. Carpet bomb the web with truth. That is our job as part of the Air Force on Bernie's Revolution team. So feel the burn, everybody. This is, we have a long haul. We have a long haul. Just remember that. We have a lot to do. We have to do it together. And stand strong. Stand Bernie strong.
Because we apparently lack the funds to provide them a minimal standard of living.
United people.
Ready? Go.
Tell your friends and your family members that it's all ridiculous not to get involved. They had better get involved. I am proud to stand with the working families of our country, prepared to take on the powerful special interests which wield incredible power over our economy and our political life. That is what I did yesterday. That is what I did 25 years ago. That is what I'll do tomorrow. And that is what I will do if elected President of the United States. It's not easy being a young Bern. I was once a young Bern, I know that. What are young Berns telling us? They're saying, look. Well, thank you, young Berns. That's how change comes about. Have a vision. Be prepared to stand up and fight for what is right. Huge